All right, you beautiful motherfuckers. I have some amazing stuff. I brought on Matt here, the founder of Coldlytics. And one of the things you guys know I'm big on is 60% of your agency success comes down to who you choose as clients. And I'm really, really big on client selection. We have a concept that we talk a lot about inside the mastermind called the shoe buyers concept. And the shoe buyers concept is really, really simple, is that if you imagine your agency service as a pair of shoes that you're trying to sell to people, what most people are doing is metaphorically trying to sell shoes to people who are barefoot. It makes sense. It's logical. They need it. But in actuality, what you want to be doing is focusing on people who have a whole empty or have a whole closet full of 200 pairs of shoes. They got the Nikes, they got the Adidas, meaning they're already paying for ads. They're paying for Facebook, they're paying for Google and SEO. And so your stuff adds on to an existing spend. And I've always learned it's much more powerful to trust behavior on that instead of, like somebody says they want to buy. So I brought Matt on here specifically because Coldlytics really helps you get to the shoe buyers a whole lot faster and easier, and to find people that might be like otherwise difficult to reach. So firstly, let me give you the old welcome, Matt, and thanks for being here and doing this, driving around no less, doing some parenting in the mix.
Thanks, Frank. Yeah, good to be here. Yeah, Coldlytics really does zero in on contacts that are otherwise kind of unreachable. As you and I have discussed prior, there's a whole lot of ways that you can try and find contact information, but it is painstaking, it's time consuming, and it's oftentimes not very profitable. So Coldlytics has kind of solved that problem that I experienced firsthand running agency operations in an outbound agency. And a lot of the pain points that I experienced there and things that went right and things that went wrong really built the business that we have here today. So I'm happy to kind of zero in and really add value, particularly around where people are at in your agency. I love that shoe sales analogy. I think that's perfect. And it really is so true that if you know who you're looking for and you know that they're looking for you, they're already looking for that type of solution, then it's going to be so much easier. And Coldlytics can help do that. So you point me in the right direction and I'll, share the light here.
Yeah, let's talk about because Coldlytics really feels like a need in the marketplace. So when you're doing like cold outreach campaigns, and they're one of the ways that we recommend getting clients, and it works, by the way, a lot of people do this very poorly. There's really two parts to it, in my opinion. There is the $1,000 an hour CEO work, which is crafting like really irresistible offers and messaging and things like that, and putting things out there that get people to say yes. And then there's, for lack of a better term, $2 fucking grunt work, which is just trying to find somebody's contact info and scrolling through their website and looking. And if you do this, if you do like regular outreach, what you'll find is it's very, very easy. You'll spend about 99% of the time in the $2 an hour grunt work, which is just trying to find the people, and not enough time in the $1,000 an hour CEO work. And so talk to me firstly about, for those people who either are doing this now, or maybe even some who are thinking of doing it, let's talk about like what really sucks about the $2 an hour grunt work and why Coldlytics was even created in the first place. You kind of alluded to it, but I'd love to hear a little more about your experience with like just trying to get a damn CEO's contact information, or a top level roofer, or a dentist, or whoever your niche is. And then oftentimes you get the gatekeeper. You do all that work to be able to contact somebody. You don't even get the person you're trying to reach.
That's right. Yeah. There's three main ways to get data. And if you guys have been in this game for a while doing cold outreach, awesome. This is all going to be familiar. And some of you will say, wow, I didn't know any of those things even existed. So except for maybe one. And the major one is that people think of as a database, right? You can subscribe to a database like Zoom Info, or you can subscribe to, Info USA or something like that exists. And the issue that I have with that is picture sitting down on a Valentine's Day speed dating, and you had nothing going on, but you knew you were looking for more out of life and more for your business. So you sat down and you let's just shoot the shit here and see what happens. And you just start hammering through, and you start to realize that, hey, we're all saying the same thing to the same group of people. And none of us really have anything better to say than the next person did. And we just hope that we hit it off and make some money or get in this relationship. I mean, what a terrible way to do business, in my opinion, to sit down with a bunch of prospects that everybody else has taken before you, with businesses more established than yours, and ran their pitch to them that's been proven over more times than yours has. What a brutal way to try and position yourself for success, to sell to a list of people that are being sold to by everyone else in your space. Everybody's buying that database.
Yeah.
So databases do convert. With that said, I've sent emails to database contacts. I have converted them at a lower percentage. It works, but it's much more expensive, and you get slapped in the face by a lot of those responses more often.
Can I just add too, like the responses are like a long ways from what one would call warm and friendly. Like you feel like a door-to-door salesperson, like basically getting the digital door shut in your face like a whole lot when you do it kind of with that approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The second way that most people in kind of order of familiarity for a lot of people, there's a lot of online tools that exist to try and scrape the internet, to try and pull emails from different places. And you guys may have tried things like Hunter.io or, Snob or some of these other tools that exist. And maybe you're like, man, I've never heard of that ever. And that's cool. What these tools do is they basically take online directories, wherever you kind of tell them to run their script, and then it tries to pull as much information as it can. And it does this relatively efficiently. The issue with this is it doesn't care if you were looking for, I don't know, if you were looking for plumbers, it doesn't care if it pulled up a plumbing wholesaler or a plumbing business, right? It doesn't know the difference. It's a scraper. It also doesn't realize that if a person's name that it pulled has an emoji in it, that it's an emoji. Just puts it in the name. So you're going to have to go through, or they put their name in all caps or in some funky font to draw attention on LinkedIn, right? So when you start to take all of these variables that can go wrong into effect and picture trying to do outreach at scale with that information, becomes very challenging. Now, that said, you're getting very cost-effective data through those tools, but the painstaking part is that you have to dive in manually and do $2 an hour work. You have to go through and clean it up, name by name, cell by cell, row by row, and fix this data. And then you have to validate it and make sure that the contact email you have is even deliverable in the first place after you've done all that work. So it's doable. If you're not making much money and your time isn't worth very much at this point, I'd recommend that you actually do that. Pull up your sleeves and get dirty, because your time isn't worth more than your money right now. Your money's actually worth more to you than your time. So if that's the case, grow where you're planted. But chances are, if you're in this community, if you're listening to this, that's not where you're at today. And so the other option are freelancers. This is the other one that people either have or have never even dreamed of working with. And freelancers are on places like Upwork and peopleperhour.com, stuff like that.
Yeah.
These work as well. But the issue that you find is this. It's usually teams overseas that don't speak very much of your language and don't know very much about your business, and certainly less about your customers' businesses. Yeah. So when you're trying to pay people who don't speak your language in another country, who don't understand your business and understand even less about your client's business, guess what kind of a list you're going to get back when you pay that person? And guess how long it's going to take them while they're confused about what your client list looks like.
Not just that, like if you look at it from like a quality over quantity, like usually most bosses are going to view the success of the campaign as like sheer numbers of names. So if a name's hard to find of somebody who could be a very, very valuable client to you, they're probably going to skip that and just go to the next website where they can copy and paste it in 2 seconds, because they feel this pressure. If I don't give you 20 names an hour, I'm going to get the whip from the boss, kind of thing.
So true. Yeah, it's so true. There's many things that can go wrong, and the method I've invested probably to date, I've probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on freelancers to figure out what does and doesn't work. And the vast majority of it, 98% of it, doesn't work. And this is kind of where Coldlytics makes the best of both worlds. What Coldlytics does is it leverages the online tools that exist, right? But it also leverages critical thinking humans that understand.
Matt, I don't know if it's at my end or yours, but I think we just froze for a second. I think it's Mexican Wi-Fi, but it's entirely possible it's at your end. We're going to hit pause on the recording for those of you guys here. All right, guys, we're back. We had a little technical difficulties. It's never easy, man. The Zoom and the data and all these things. It's always like the hardest part about running a technology business is always the technology. Anyways, Matt was telling us about Coldlytics and kind of solving this problem, getting intelligent data. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I think the last thing before we disconnected that I was touching on was the issue with working with freelancers, and really where we've cornered our section of the market and said, hey, we've got a solution that's different and that's going to do all these things better than before, is that we're combining people that have a higher level of critical thinking and understanding about research that needs done in North American and major European markets than what you get when you outsource overseas. And we combine those people that are doing the research with the tools that exist online, right? So we're leveraging all the tools that you could be using, but we're also doing that critical thinking for you and saying, hey, does this list make sense or does it not? So the example I always like to use is if you're pulling a list of plumbers, you're going to see one of two things happen. You're either going to get a nice clean list of plumbing business owners, or you're going to get a list of plumbers, HVAC companies, service companies for mini split sales, and you're going to get wholesalers for all of those industry niche sectors, and there's going to be no filtering whatsoever that happens. And what happens is, this is really just kind of the raw data that you would get in the first place if you were scraping the internet yourself.
Right.
But when you apply some critical thinking to that and be able to say, hey, we know we're looking for plumbing owners in this particular city, we're not looking for plumbing wholesalers, then that time and potential embarrassment of emailing the wrong prospects is gone. The dirty work for you is done. Somebody's gone in and done that thinking that you can't. Generally, until Coldlytics, we weren't able to outsource it either. So that's kind of how we built the business, is productizing a solution that really says, hey, people need quality data and they should stop paying for data that doesn't work. And that's what all these other things that we did before we made this company were doing. They were selling us data that didn't work. So we kind of introduced two guarantees that we said, we're just going to stand by the quality of this. If an email ever bounces, you can send it back to us and we'll just credit it back to your account immediately. Without question. The second thing that we do is, if any of your data is inaccurate at all, we'll just credit it back. If there's any issues whatsoever, not only that, but we'll also go back to the research team and try and figure out what went wrong and refine the systems. That way we're always getting better on this front as well. Right now, we're the only company, and we were talking about this yesterday, my co-founder Richard and I, who else is doing this in the space? Well, there's companies doing components of what we do internally. Nobody's actually quite doing data the way that we are. And I think it's probably just because, to be frank, it's a pain in the ass to do what we do, which is why people pay us to do it. So if you're trying to get a very specific list, an actionable list that you can take to market and say, hey, I'm going to send this guy some direct mail. I'm going to call their office or their cell phone, whatever number we could get, we'll provide. And we're also going to send them a cold email. All right, awesome. You can get that data from Coldlytics for less than $1 and start moving really, really quickly on prospects that can convert into thousands of dollars a month for you, which, when you think about spending it half a day doing something that you hate doing, that takes your creativity, that takes your energy, that's what most people feel are all those emotions I just described when they're buried in spreadsheets, right? Most people aren't spreadsheet people, or they're not an agency owner at heart. They're probably an accountant at heart that understands marketing, right?
I'm with you. That sounds like bullet in the head kind of work.
Yeah, 100%, man. I hate spreadsheets, which is why I was able to kind of get passionate about the solution that we have, and that's why I do the sales and marketing and not the technical side of our business.
Yeah, I would just like to expand upon that, because one of the things I'm really big on is, like, we choose our clients, not the other way around. And
right.
In my opinion, 60% of agency success comes down to who you choose as clients. And one of the things that actually really drew me to Coldlytics is I found out through our mastermind that you were working on the ability to filter lists based on who has like Google AdWords tags or Facebook AdWords tags, and like to take that to the shoe buyers concept, that like, that's, rather than try and guess who would theoretically spend money on marketing, you can identify, say you mentioned the niche plumbers, you can find the plumbers that are actively today spending money and running traffic through their website. And that is such a huge indicator of success, because there's a budget there, they value marketing, they're paying for it. And like you said, like you use the word actionable. I really like that. What you ultimately want out of a list is not to have a list of names, like these are all the fucking plumbers on the face of the earth, but you want the 80-20 most actionable people that are the most likely to pay you thousands of dollars every month, and most likely to use it, and the most likely to be open to it. And if you can put that together using Coldlytics and do that, in 10 minutes, what would take you like 10 days of misery and cleaning and checking spreadsheets and cross-referencing. I even had it too, like you get a spreadsheet, a VA makes it, and we wanted it formatted for direct mail, and they didn't separate out like the zip code And so you
Yep.
have somebody go through an hour in the spreadsheet and copy and paste the zip code over to a new column. Like being able to just not have to deal with, like, for lack of a better term, what I would call fucking nonsense.
Absolutely.
Sounds
Yeah.
really awesome. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention, Matt, but I would, maybe we could just tell our people like where they can get it, like what kind of like introductory packages you guys have that they could check out.
Yeah, so it starts at $99 a month, and the way it works is you get a set amount of credits for that price. And in the first month, you're getting more credits as a sign-up bonus. So we throw some extra credits at you depending on which tier you sign up for. 1 credit is equal to 1 contact, so we didn't want any confusion around that. We made it really straightforward. And there's no commitments. This was something else that really frustrated me when I was buying data from other places, is I had to make a 12-month commitment to a database or to some world-renowned platform like ZoomInfo that ended up costing a significant amount of money, and I only needed it for this amount.
Yeah.
So if you guys are like, hey, we want to sign up, but we're not sure even what we're going to do with the data yet or what our strategy is, we just need to get the list so we can kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
You can subscribe, message us in the chat. I mean, don't do this, just keep paying me every month, but you can message us in the chat and just unsubscribe, and we're not going to hold you to it, right? It's not a big deal. We want to be people. No, like we just want to work with real people. Exactly. And I'm so tired of having sales calls with people that feel like they corner you into a sale. And it's so frustrating. And so we said, whatever we do with this product, we want it to make people's lives better, not worse.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the philosophy that we're putting into trying to innovate this product for you guys. So I'm more than happy to do a dedicated webinar where we can maybe do some use cases for specific members of your group, Frankie, or just to shoot something that's a little bit more generic for everybody and send that over. I mean, we've got ideas and use cases, and we've also got proven copy from campaigns that we've ran from our own data as well, and some unique ways that we've used our own platform to generate leads that was really, really high converting. And that's the stuff where there's an 80-20, as you mentioned. It's one thing to have a list and to reach out to it. It's another thing to know that list is kind of interested and they've got these buying intent signals that you've kind of flagged, like, hey, this guy's running Facebook ads or he's running Google ads. That's awesome stuff to judge a prospect on. But if you can even find a warmer entry point, then, hey, saw you're running Facebook ads and we're both members of this group. I was commenting in this group the other day, not sure if you saw that post. Whoa, that's a different email. That's an email that's like very personal. We're in the same circle. We're talking to the same people. Maybe I saw the post that he was commenting on, right? Yeah. When you can start to write copy like that to your prospects, man, it's a game changer. So you need to have good data and good copy, and you need to know how to leverage both of those things together to maximize its reach. So more than happy to dive into this stuff with you guys. I love talking about marketing and I love talking about good data.
Amen. Yeah, I would just add a couple of things to that. One is that, I've learned this when you're trying to, like, for example, like if I start with my broad niche of lawyers, there's 1.3 million attorneys just in the United States. Like, if I try and get data on every attorney, like, that's an overwhelming thing. And like trying to write one message or a series of messages that appeals to them is really hard. When you narrow that down, like you mentioned, 80-20, okay, now I pick a niche within a niche, like personal injury lawyers. And then now I narrow it down even further to like personal injury lawyers who are spending on advertising, who have a firm size between blank and blank. Suddenly, I can do things like write more powerful messages because I'm not trying to reach 1 million people. I would rather message 100 shoe buyers like 100 times than message 10,000 random lawyers. And so I really like that, like, kind of less is more, but like doing better approaches in general, and more personalized and more meaningful, and you get just like better results from that. I like you guys are throwing in some tools. For those of you guys who are interested in getting this, I will post a link. Just fair warning, it is an affiliate link, but I'm going to throw in some cool bonuses to make that. We have some training that we've done on the shoe buyers concept, as well as like narrowing it down, and Coldlytics will only speed that up. As you guys mentioned, if you guys are doing outreach on the regular, like for real, like stop doing fucking $2 an hour work. Like start valuing your time. Maybe it won't be like $1,000 or $3,000 an hour CEO work on day one, but at least get rid of the $2 an hour miserable kind of grunt work spreadsheet editing. And we've got another tool as well called Dave's one-click shoe buyer that'll show you, like, the spenders in your niche, and so you can like cross-reference that data. And I've also got a really cool training called the Energy Efficient Leverage Machine, will help you to use this data after you've got it. And then there was one other thing I wanted to say, but I'm blanking on it, so it probably isn't that important. Oh, and the other thing is, as Matt mentioned, I really like the pay as you go kind of thing. Obviously, they've got a monthly fee, but if you're not using it, like, nobody's going to break your thumbs for canceling. I've definitely used some tools over the day that they're a nightmare to get in and out of, and I really like that. You can subscribe to it and you pay for the data you actually use, so you can try it. For 99 bucks, to me, that's a no-brainer. If you've ever spent any time doing cold outreach more than 5 minutes, you'll understand exactly why that's valuable. To not be like cruising through websites trying to find the contact page. Oh shit, they don't have their email. We're here. Maybe I'll do a whois.domain tool. Maybe they're on Facebook. Maybe they're on LinkedIn. After 20 minutes of just trying to find one contact, you've already wasted time in life you're not going to get back. So anything else you want to add to that matter? Have I forgotten?
No, it's so true. I mean, if you're wondering what the significance is here, and if it's important to you, I think maybe the only sign that says to me is that you're just not at that point yet where you've got your hands dirty to find out what the difference is. And I would actually probably encourage you that if you haven't had, for lack of a better term, if you haven't had your teeth kicked in with cold outreach, just go get it done. Just go do some and feel how bad it hurts. And then you'll go back and say, man, okay, I need somebody to check out this copy before I send that email. I need somebody to give me a better list to start with. And you'll start to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, I don't know everything about this, but if I can get an edge here, if I can get 1% better today, that's going to make me 100 times better next year. And hopefully through tools like this, we're giving you arbitrage that makes that next year theory next week, right? We're getting you that edge that took us years, and literally I've sent over 3 million cold emails through a team of people. And that's what it took for me to figure out what good data did and didn't look like. 2% of 3 million emails taught me everything.
Yeah, actually, to add to that point, they've done I'm really interested when I study copywriting, the old all-time greats. There's been 100+ years of direct mail copywriting testing, and they've said over and over and over, the three biggest factors, they roughly go 60, 30, 10. 60% is the list itself, like who they choose to send the offer to. 30% is the offer and 10% is the copy. And if you understand that, like 3/5 of your success is just who you're sending the damn email to in the first place, or who you're choosing to reach out. You'll do that a lot more carefully and strategically. And I also wanted to add, I forgot to mention the obvious one. We have a cold outreach boot camp we did live, showing people like how to create the kind of personalized messages that we were talking about, how to do that on the fly, how to reach out to people and have them like almost seem like their idea, like, hey, I saw your post about blah, 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 and give you a way to get in the door with like the kinds of people that you're trying to reach, instead of just what most people do, which is just send one message, get ghosted and ignored by 7,000 people, and then scratch their heads wondering why. We'd much rather you contact 100 shoe buyers, do it well, and have 10, 20, 30, 40, believe it or not, we've had campaigns as high as 60, 70% of strangers reach out and at least have some kind of dialogue. That doesn't mean 60, 70% bot.
Crazy.
But you can do that when it's high quality list and personalized. So I'd love for you guys to do more of that and less of the, hey, I sent 10,000 messages today to get ghosted and it was a lot of fucking work, and I got all excited when I hit send and nobody listened to me.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I don't think I can add anything to what you just said that would shed any more light on really the power of going into cooking with good ingredients, man. I think that's exactly it.
All right, guys, that's all we got for you here. I'm sure you guys will have some questions about Coldlytics or cold outreach. You guys can post them below this video, and I'll also post the replay of this on YouTube for you guys to check out, and I'll make sure to put a link down below. Much love to you guys, and Matt, thank you so much for doing this. I know you're a dad of a 2-year-old. I know what it's like to try and get time away from kids. It is not easy, so we appreciate you sharing your valuable time.
Likewise. Yeah, thank you as well, Frankie, and looking forward to working with you.